Good morning, Acadiana. It's January 8th, 2021. You're listening to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate. Their team of journalists print the stories important to our community and state, and we're happy to read you some of those stories. You can hear Local News Live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on AOC 1, the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube, and on Cypress Street Radio at AOCinc.org/CS radio. You can find the print versions of these stories and more at theadvocate.com. We couldn't bring you this community service without the generosity of our volunteer news readers. And today we're joined by Bruce Cohen. Welcome to Local News Live. Good morning, Bruce.
Well, good morning, Mandy. Thank you for being at the helm of the technology aspect of our broadcast. I appreciate that very much because we're all in our home studios. So it's thank you so much for being able to allow me to read the news this morning. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bruce. I'm going to listen in.
Okay, thanks so much, Mandy. Well, good morning, Acadiana. It is Friday, January 8th, 2021. Yes, people, we are in the year 2021. A lot going on this week, but we're going to try to stick to Acadiana news and state news. I'm sure you've heard a lot about what's happening up in D.C., and there'll be some stories filtering in that connect to Louisiana about that. So we're going to start off with the first story this morning with Ochsner Lafayette expands vaccine effort. People 70 and older are eligible for shots by Ben Myers, staff writer. Ochsner Lafayette General Medical Center has begun offering COVID-19 vaccines to non-medical personnel as part of its first limited foray into administering doses to the public. Aside from healthcare workers, vaccination eligibility across the state is limited to 70 and older, and as of this week, shots are being offered in venues outside nursing homes, namely pharmacies and hospitals. Pharmacies have been accepting appointments for Moderna vaccine administration, and Governor John Bell Edwards said shots will be available in all 64 parishes next week, either at pharmacies or other providers. As for hospitals, the Louisiana Department of Health instructed those such as Ochsner Lafayette General to start administering first doses that have not been used on healthcare workers to eligible members of the public. The hospital system has already administered about 3,000 first doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine to staff and other independent healthcare workers, and it has another 3,000 or so first doses on hand. Invitations have been sent to about 7,500 people who have visited an Ochsner Lafayette General Clinic within the past 90 days. About 1,650 new appointments have been booked as of 11 a.m. Thursday, less than 24 hours after the invites went out. Hospital officials say the state health department has provided assurances that inventory will be resupplied as needed, and that the Ochsner system can redistribute doses among its facilities to avoid those with appointments to come away empty-handed. State officials don't want us to get hung up on the fact that we have 3,000 doses. Just give it, and they will resupply us so that we can do the rest of the patients. We are not holding back on 3,000. We are just letting it go, said Dr. Amanda Luge, the Ochsner Lafayette General Chief Medical Officer. The state has so far received about 230,000 doses of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, according to U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention data. And the state reports more than 80,000 of them have been administered, including about 7,000 second doses that completed the vaccination cycle. State officials track hospital inventories through an automated system, and are not concerned about shortages as hospitals gradually expand availability to the wider public, said Kevin Litton, a health department spokesperson. The immunization program has been in very close contact with providers about what they need, Litton said. We've really allowed them to administer doses as they see fit, as long as it's in their priority groups. In addition to the 7,500 new invitees, there are another 3,000 or so eligible Ochsner Lafayette General staff and other healthcare workers who have not yet received first doses. Only about 47% of staff and independent medical personnel who were initially invited to receive vaccinations have done so, and that does not include those with standing appointments, Loge said. If the other 53% all of a sudden want to be vaccinated tomorrow, we can use up all of our supply. But that's not what is happening out there. They are trickling in, or they're deciding not to at all, Loge said. Ochsner Lafayette General is setting up a vaccination site at the Hyman Center in the system's main hospital campus. The site offers ample space for parking, social distancing, and post-vaccination monitoring, after all which presented logistical challenges last month when the first doses were rolled out, Loge said. Appointments will soon be available 7 days a week. Invitees are initially limited to existing patients who have visited Ochsner Lafayette General Clinics within 90 days, and Loge said more invites will be sent as procedures are refined. We're starting with that group first because it is the easiest to get a mass amount of information directly, Loge said. This is really testing our systems. It's testing the capability for us to be able to vaccinate. It's a tough one for me this morning. Vaccinate 7,500 people in the next 3 weeks if they all want vaccinations. The next two groups of invitees will include patients who have visited clinics within 6 months and then a year, Loge said. Those groups combined will include 10,000 to 15,000 people. After that, Loge said she hopes a broader distribution to the public will be possible, whether or not they are Ochsner Lafayette General patients. Next story up, Blanco Center to partner with One Acadiana by Ken Sickney, staff writer. A strategic partnership involving One Acadiana and the Kathleen Babineau Blanco Public Policy Center will use the strengths of both organizations to advance their shared or complementary missions. The statement of agreement was announced Tuesday by both organizations. Stephen Barnes, director of the Independent Interdisciplinary Research Center and Archive at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, said among shared goals and complementary efforts is One Acadiana's 55 by 25 initiative, the effort to raise educational and workforce training efforts to a level where 55% of the adult population has an academic degree or recognized workforce certification. Barnes said the Blanco Center will study how the state can bolster that effort by supporting adults who are seeking such credentials while raising families and working. Part of our mission is to be a resource, Barnes said. Partnering with One Acadiana helps us to expand our capacity. He said One Acadiana may tap into more research efforts at UL through the Blanco Center. He also said that by the two organizations joining forces, they may be able to secure more grant funding. We believe there is strength in numbers. One Acadiana CEO Troy Wayman said, there is no sense in being repetitive in our actions. It makes perfect sense for us to leverage the partnership, make it formal, and stand together on issues of policy. Stated issues for the Blanco Center includes addressing poverty, improving education, and developing economic opportunity. One Acadiana, which grew out of the former Greater Lafayette Chamber of Commerce, is a leading economic development organization in the 9-parish Acadiana region with more than 600 investors and members. Its missions include encouraging greater educational attainment in the workforce to complement its goal of enhancing economic opportunity. Barnes said the Blanco Center, since its creation, has been establishing itself as a statewide force. Wayman said the two organizations have worked in complementary fashion on several initiatives, and by the agreement are affirming that relationship. Wayman said the agreement is open-ended. I am confident that the work produced through our partnership with the Blanco Center will have a meaningful impact on the future economic growth and competitiveness of the region, he said. And our first public service announcement break of the morning. Library Resource Guide reveals access to tools, services, and databases. Unlock your library card's hidden potential with the new Library Resource Guide. The 12-page guide provides a detailed look at all of the digital and physical resources that the Lafayette Public Library System has to offer. Pick up a copy at any library location or download a PDF version at LafayettePublicLibrary.org/guide. Check it out for yourself. All you need is a library card. If you need one, you can apply today at any library location or online. You can visit LafayettePublicLibrary.org/get-a-card for more details. For more information about the library's programs and hours of operation, you can follow the library system on Facebook or visit LafayettePublicLibrary.org. All right, continuing with the news in Acadiana, forecasts chance of snow low in Acadiana by Claire Taylor, staff writer. Will Acadiana get a rare snowfall this weekend? Forecasts say snow is possible in parts of Louisiana this weekend as a cold front moves through, but there's not much chance for that rare winter precipitation in Acadiana or participation of the clouds allowing snowflakes to appear in Acadiana. Right now, the chances for wintry precipitation across the Acadiana area are pretty low. Monterey Lockwood, meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Lake Charles, said on Thursday. The best chance for a wintry mix of rain and snow, she said, is in North Louisiana and into central Louisiana, possibly as far south as Opelousas. Even if Acadiana sees a few snow flurries, Lockwood said, it probably would be mixed with rain and not accumulate on surfaces. The best chance for wintry precipitation is Sunday night, especially between midnight Sunday and 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. on Monday. This won't be an Arctic event, Lockwood said. Temperatures in Acadiana will fall into the 30s, hovering close to freezing Monday morning, but a warm-up is expected by mid-morning Monday, she said. National Weather Service in Slidell said in southeast Louisiana, the best chances for snow, part of a wintry mix of rain, sleet, and snow, are in the northern part of the Florida parishes. The Baton Rouge and New Orleans areas have a much lower chance of seeing the winter precipitation. Top 2 council positions held by women by Claire Taylor, staff writer. The 2 women on the Lafayette City Council were selected Tuesday to lead that body as chairperson and vice chairperson for 2021. Liz Webb-Hebert will lead the council as chairperson, and Nanette Cook will serve as vice chairperson. Hebert, who was vice chairperson in 2020, replaces Pat Lewis. Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory said he believes this is the first time women will hold the top 2 leadership positions on the city council. Meanwhile, the parish council on Tuesday selected John Gilbo as chairperson and A.B. Rubin as vice chairperson for 2021. Gilbo, who served as a vice chairperson in 2020, replaces Kevin Nauquin. Nauquin was the only one of the 5 parish council members who has served on the previous city parish council. In giving up the chairpersonship Tuesday, he reflected, it was fun, it was stressful, it was trying times. Gilbo thanked Nauquin for leading the new parish council through a troubling 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic, budget cuts and layoffs, civil unrest, and hurricanes. Some of the challenges will continue into 2021, he said, as the council addresses how to create a budget that sustains a parish government throughout the future. The task of this council will be daunting, Gilbo said. The city and parish councils were created as separate entities by a home rule charter amendment approved by voters in 2018. The former city parish council was abolished in December of 2019, and the new separate city and parish councils were seated in January 2020. Prior to 1996, separate city and parish councils existed. In 1996, the combined city parish council was seated, created with adoption of a home rule charter that established Lafayette consolidated government. Looking at the crime plotter now, put together by the Advocate staff reports, man sentenced to over 3 years in federal prison. A Lafayette man was sentenced to more than 3 years in federal prison for drug trafficking, according to a statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Paul Bernard, 21, was sentenced Thursday by Judge Robert R. Summerhays to 42 months in prison, followed by 2 years of supervised release for conspiracy to distribute and possess with intent to distribute methamphetamine whatever drug. According to acting U.S. Attorney Alexander C. Van Hook, Bernard pleaded guilty December 10th of 2019. Evidence introduced in court revealed that from January through June 2019, Bernard purchased methamphetamine from a co-defendant, in this case approximately once per week, with each transaction involving quantities of 1 ounce to 1 pound. He would then sell the methamphetamine for profit. This prosecution is part of a larger investigation conducted by the Drug Enforcement Administration Task Force, or DEA, through its Southwest Louisiana HIDTA Task Force and Organized Crime and Drug Enforcement Task Forces. Louisiana State Police Narcotics Division initiated the investigation, and special agents with DEA as well as task force officers assigned to the Southwest Louisiana HIDTA Task Force completed the investigation. In addition to the above conviction and sentence, the investigation resulted in the dismantling of a drug trafficking organization in Ville Platte, Louisiana. Assistant U.S. Attorney Robert C. Abendroth prosecuted the case. Police search for a man suspected of shooting. Lafayette police was searching for a suspect wanted in connection with the shooting Wednesday afternoon. Officers responded to a disturbance involving a firearm at the 100 block of Avier Road early in the afternoon, according to a statement from police. The suspect, identified as 26-year-old Joseph DeVoltz of Lafayette, was involved in a verbal altercation with 2 of the 4 victims, police said. DeVoltz left the verbal altercation and proceeded to his nearby residence. Once there, police said he retrieved a rifle and proceeded to the residence of the victims. As the victims, the father and 3 sons, exited their vehicle, the suspect fired several shots at them. No one was injured, but their vehicle sustained damage from the gunfire. DeVoltz fled the scene and is wanted on 4 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Okay, our next article, Rouse's co-owner sees fallout from attending rally. He says he left before violence at Capitol, condemning those who invaded the building, by Ramon Antonio Vargas, staff writer. Louisiana businessman Donald Rouse Sr. and the regional supermarket chain he co-owns became engulfed in controversy after a photo surfaced on Facebook showing him and his former human resources director in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday, when a mob of Donald Trump supporters invaded the U.S. Capitol in an attempt to derail a congressional vote certifying President-elect Joe Biden's victory. Rouse issued a statement Thursday saying he left the Trump rally before violence broke out at the Capitol, which he condemned. I was shocked and saddened to see it unfold on TV, said Rouse, who said he wanted to support Trump at the end of his presidency. I condemn the actions of those who unlawfully entered and damaged our hallowed institutions and threatened our public servants. The ex-Human Resources Director, Steve Gaultier, publicly posted the photo on his Facebook page. It showed him and Rouse clad in face masks and baseball caps in a park where Trump supporters gathered near the White House. Other pictures he posted were of the surrounding crowds, accompanied by the caption, "Millions in D.C. today with us." Excuse me. The pair were not pictured inside the Capitol, where armed rioters scaled walls, broke windows, and occupied the legislative chambers in the first breach of the building since the War of 1812. The backlash against Rouse was immediate and intense, generating more than 4,700 posts on Twitter alone. Many social media users began circulating screenshots of the photos while imploring Louisiana residents to stop shopping at his grocery stores. David Holt, a frequent customer in New Orleans, was so outraged that he spent several hours on the sidewalk in front of the Chapatula Street Rouse's, holding up a copy of the Facebook photo to show drivers entering the parking lot. I've shopped here about twice a week for the past 20 years, he said. I live 1 block away, but I'm never coming back again after what happened in D.C. yesterday. The Carnival organization, the Crew of Red Beans, which marches on Lundy Gras, has been hiring young musicians and artists to deliver groceries to their older counterparts, said it would return the $20,000 it had received from the chain and intended to stop shopping at Rouse's. The state chapter of the NAACP also said it is ending its relationship with Rouse's, which has been a longtime supporter, especially of its Houma Terrebonne branch. As the social media controversy grew, a few people began offering up the New Orleans area grocery chain Bromart as an alternative to Rouse's. Then some started circulating screenshots of a post from an account under the name of Bromart co-owner Barry Bro that prayed for Trump's enemies to stumble and fall into confusion and panic. Bromart issued a statement Thursday saying one person's opinions do not collectively reflect the views of employees or management. Think of the spirit of community, peace, and love you've experienced when shopping in our stores, chatting with our employees, and interacting with us on social media, the statement said. That is Bromart. Gaultier has since deleted his Facebook account, but that has done little to alleviate the heat. Rouse's was a top trending topic among New Orleans area Twitter users on Thursday afternoon, ranking above terms such as hashtag Capitol riots and resign. In his response, Rouse said, violence and destruction do not represent our country's values or the values of Rouse's. Our country desperately needs to come together to heal, and I will do everything I can to be a part of the process. He also said he is no longer involved in Rouse's day-to-day operations. Rouse's traces its roots to a grocery store that Rouse's father, attorney J. Rouse Sr., co-founded in Houma in 1960. Donald Rouse worked there and later helped lead his family's namesake company as it established itself as a regional power in the supermarket business. In 2016, his son Donnie Rose took the reins of the chain, which now boasts more than 60 stores in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. The elder Rouse has donated money to Trump and other Republican politicians over the years, records show. All right, well, now it is time for our mid-show break, and we'll start off with the day in history. Today is Friday, January 8th. It's the 8th day of 2021. There are potentially 357 shopping days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on January 8th, 1998, Ramzi Youssef, the mastermind of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, was sentenced in New York to life in prison without the possibility of parole. On this date in 1815, the last major engagement of the War of 1812 came to an end as U.S. forces defeated the British in the Battle of New Orleans, not having gotten word of the signing of a peace treaty. In 1918, President Woodrow Wilson outlined his 14 points for lasting peace after World War I. And on this date also, Mississippi became the first state to ratify the 18th Amendment to the Constitution, which established prohibition. In 1935, rock and roll legend Elvis the Pelvis Presley was born in Tupelo, Mississippi. And if you go to Tupelo and Memphis this weekend, you will celebrate his birthday as they have a 3-day celebration going on. In 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson, in his State of the Union address, declared an unconditional war on poverty in America. 1968, the Otis Redding single, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, was released on the Volt label almost a month after the singer's death in a plane crash. 1973, the Paris peace talks between the United States and North Vietnam resumed. 1982, American Telephone and Telegraph settled Justice Department's antitrust lawsuit against it by agreeing to divest itself of the 22 Bell System companies. 1994, Tonya Harding won the Ladies U.S. Figure Skating Championship in Detroit, a day after Nancy Kerrigan had dropped out because of the clubbing attack that had injured her right knee. The U.S. Figure Skating Association later stripped Harding of her title. 1997, the state of Arkansas put 3 men to death in the second triple execution since capital punishment was reinstated in 1976. The first also occurred in Arkansas in 1994. In 2008, Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton powered to victory in New Hampshire's 2008 Democratic primary in a startling upset, defeating Senator Barack Obama and resurrecting her bid for the White House. Also on this date, in 2008, Senator John McCain defeated his Republican rivals to move back into contention for the GOP nomination. 10 years ago, U.S. Representative Gabrielle Giffords, Democrat from Arizona, was shot and critically wounded when a gunman opened fire as a congresswoman met with constituents in Tucson. 6 people were killed, 12 others were also injured. Gunman Jared Lee Logner was sentenced in November 2012 to 7 consecutive life sentences plus 140 years. 5 years ago, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the world's most wanted drug lord, was captured for a 3rd time in a daring raid by Mexican Marines, 6 months after walking through a tunnel to freedom from a maximum security prison and a made-for-Hollywood escape that deeply embarrassed the government and strained ties with the United States. 1 year ago, South Korea said it had put a Chinese woman under isolated treatment amid concerns that she had brought back the coronavirus and that had sickened dozens in mainland China and Hong Kong. Today's birthdays: actor comedian Larry Storch is 98 years old. Wow. Former CBS newsman Charles Osgood is 88. Singer Shirley Bassey is 84. Game show host Bob Eubanks, 83. Country gospel singer Christy Lane, 81. Actor Yvette Mimeo, 79. Rock musician Robbie Krieger from The Doors, 75. He was the drummer. Movie director John McTiernan, 70. Actor Ron Cephas Jones, 64. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos is 63 today. Singer-songwriter Ron Sexsmith is 57, and singer R. Kelly, 54 years old today. Well, let's look at the zodiac, shall we? If you're a Capricorn, consider what will make you happy and head in that direction. You are the master of your destiny. You could also be the matter of your destiny, but we'll say you're the master of your destiny. Put your energy where it counts and you'll discover what you can accomplish all by yourself. Aquarius is consider what you will do well and enjoy and turn it into a profitable venture. Take the initiative, refuse to let obstacles stand in your way. Pisces, use your connections to help you put your plan in motion. Your ability to articulate what you want to do with enthusiasm and flair will win you your success. A partnership looks promising. Aries, keep your life simple. Refuse to let outside influences interfere with your plans. Look at the possibilities and consider what you have time to pursue. Discipline and intelligence are necessary. Taurus, with uncertainty sets in, take a step back. There is no point in taking a risk. Channel your energy into personal growth, physical fitness, and self-improvement. Romance is on the rise. Gemini, research, ask questions, check facts, and take things slowly. Trust is on your side. Time is on your side as well. A partnership will interest you, but don't get involved in a joint financial venture. Cancer, explore new possibilities. Don't shy away from joining forces with someone who can contribute to your plans. Don't make an unnecessary fuss. Romance is encouraged. Leo, a change someone makes will take you by surprise. Be hesitant to participate if you have any doubts. Taking a conservative approach will end up being to your advantage. Virgos, my birth sign, make self-improvement a priority. Set up a workout space or find a spot to work on a hobby. Use your imagination and intelligence to get ahead. Romance is on the rise. Well, my wife will be very happy to hear that. Libra, refuse to let anyone push you around. Stand up for your rights. Proceed with your plans. An opportunity to make an adjustment at home that will encourage peace is encouraged. Scorpios, you'll be anxious to make a move. Consider the pros and cons. If you act too quickly, you will overlook an important detail that your institution guides you. Sagittarius, an unusual set of circumstances surrounding a friend or relative will put you in a position of power. Do what's right. Handle matters reasonably. Romance is on the rise for Sagittarius. And that is the horoscope or zodiac for today. The horoscope is an entertainment feature and is not based on scientific fact. Okay, so if you've been listening to my broadcast this week, you'll know that right after the Day in History in the Zodiac, I have been announcing through the Rolling Stone the 80 musicians that we lost in the year 2020. So we'll continue with number 16. The first one up today is John Ecstasy Fletcher. He was the co-founder of the group Houdini. He died at the age of 56 in 2020. The rapper was in the pioneering hip-hop group Houdini and appeared on hits Friends and Freaks Come Out at Night. Next up, for those who are into the band Rush or are a drummer or into drummers, know that Neil Pert, the very famous drummer of the Canadian rock group Rush, passed away last year. He had set a new standard for rock virtuosity. He died at the age of 67. He was a Hall of Fame drummer and lyricist, and he succumbed to brain cancer. Billy Joe Schaefer, a seminal outlaw country musician and songwriter, died at the age of 81 in 2020, best known as the songwriter of Waylon Jennings' 1973 album Honky Tonk Heroes. The colorful Texas raconteur had his songs recorded by famous luminary musicians such as Willie Nelson and Elvis Presley. Tony Rice, an innovative bluegrass guitarist, died recently, within the last few weeks, at age 69. The singing musician, known for his elegant flat-picking style, was inducted into the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame in 2013. And finally today, Hal Ketchum. Hal Ketchum was a 90s country singer renowned for his song Small Town Saturday Night. He died at the age of 67. He was a Grand Ole Opry member, known for hits like Hearts Are Gonna Roll and Sure Love. He succumbed to dementia complications. And then when we pick it up on Monday, I will read the next 5 musicians who passed away in 2020, or musicians of note. All right, well, getting back into the news, usually on Fridays at this point, I like to read the entertainment, which that reading about those musicians who passed away in 2020 was a part of that. So let me read the next entertainment story. This is entitled The Show Must Go On. The Baton Rouge Jewish Film Festival in its 15th year by John Wirt, contributing writer. The coronavirus pandemic won't stop the Baton Rouge Jewish Film Festival. In its 15th year, the event is presenting video-on-demand screenings and live-streamed Q&A sessions with filmmakers. The festival runs this coming Sunday, through January 17th. The event usually books a multi-day residency at the Manship Theater, although the Manship is screening films that reduce capacity and compliance with COVID-19 restrictions. Festival organizers opted to go online. Festival co-chairpersons Paula Hoffman, Julie Hoffman, and Ari Rubian never seriously considered canceling their event this year. The trickiest part was envisioning how we do a festival that's video on demand, Rubian said. We thought we'd have to reinvent the wheel, but 10 nanoseconds later, we found a company that has a platform that's specifically for this. And they work with Jewish film festivals throughout the United States. We saw what the other festivals were doing with it. Event Live, the platform the festival is going with, produces virtual screening packages for festivals, art house film venues, and that's Eventive, E-V-E-N-T-I-V-E. The company's services include ticket sales, security, and audience data for on-demand video and live-streamed events. We designed the whole thing and uploaded the trailers and films, Rubian said. They'll do the ticketing for us, which is a load off my mind, and there are various pieces that you can add or take off. You can customize it for whatever you have. This year's festival is using an animated music video from Israel's Jane Bourgeois Band as a free of charge introduction to navigating the Eventive platform. Festival passes are $42, a single film is $14, and the filmmaker Q&A is free. Film may be rented for viewing during a 72-hour window, Once patrons rent a film, it's available for streaming for 24 hours. More information is available at 2021brjff.eventive, that's eventive.org/welcome. The festival's 2021 films and filmmaker Q&A sessions include the film Breaking Bread, a documentary profile of Dr. Nauf Atamana Ismail, the first Muslim Arab to win Israel's Master Chef competition. Seeking social change through food, Atmata Ismail founded the Assam Arabic Food Festival. The event pairs Arab and Jewish chefs in collaboration for dishes such as kishik, a Syrian yogurt soup, and katayef, a dessert traditionally made for Ramadan. Available 6 p.m. Monday, Sunday through 6 p.m. Wednesday. Mossad, in this 2019 feature-length comedy, Sasha Halabi plays a bungling secret agent with Israel's national intelligence agency, Mossad. Director Alon Gur-Ari recruited David Zucker, the American writer-director of Airplane, Top Secret, and Police Squad, to be a creative consultant for Mossad. In Hebrew and English, the film stars popular Israeli actors. And that film will be available 6 p.m. Thursday, January 14th through 6 p.m. Sunday, January 17th. Oliver Sacks, His Own Life, an award-winning documentary about Dr. Oliver Sacks, a lay physician, best-selling author, and professor of neurology at the NYU School of Medicine, directed by Rick Burns. His Own Life covers Sacks' battles with drug addiction, homophobia, and his struggle to be recognized by the medical establishment. Known for his book Awakenings, which was made into a major motion picture with Robin Williams playing Oliver Sacks, and The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, Sacks redefined the understanding of the brain. The film features interviews with Sacks conducted months before his death in 2015. Family members, colleagues, patients, and friends. Available 6 p.m. Wednesday through 6 p.m. Saturday, January 16th. They Ain't Ready for Me, Tamar Manassi, an African-American rabbinical student in Chicago, founded MASK, which stands for Mothers Against Senseless Killings, an organization that works to prevent gun violence. This documentary examines the complexity, motivation, and intersecting identities of a Black Jewish woman. Available 6 p.m. Monday through 6 p.m. Thursday, January 14th. Travel Log Tel Aviv. During a 6-month stay in Tel Aviv, an art student uses drawings to analyze and understand his new environment. Start date to be announced. The live Q&A for Breaking Bread will be with director Beth Elise Hawk. That will be 8 p.m. Wednesday. The Q&A for They Ain't Ready for Me, featuring Tamar Manassi and director Brad Rothschild, will be 8 p.m. Thursday, January 14th. The Oliver Sacks' His Own Life Q&A with director Rick Burns, producer Bonnie Lefebvre, and Oliver Sacks Foundation executive director Kate Egger will be 8 p.m. Saturday, January 16th. And I'm sure they have a Facebook page as well as a website. Just go to your browser and punch in the Baton Rouge Jewish Film Festival. Okay, so getting back into the state news. 5 of 6 Louisiana GOP lawmakers sought to overturn vote. All condemn insurrection by pro-Trump mob by Mark Mallett, Tyler Bridges, and Andrea Gallo, staff writers. 5 of the 6 members of Louisiana's Republican congressional delegation sided with President Donald Trump in votes late Wednesday and early Thursday that sought to overturn the election of Joe Biden as president. All 6 of them condemned the insurrection that led the pro-Trump mob to breach security Wednesday, seize control of parts of the U.S. Capitol, and force the rushed evacuation of lawmakers, including Vice President Mike Pence. None of the 6 has condemned Trump, who called on his supporters to head to the Capitol early Wednesday and has been blamed by many Republicans and Democrats for inciting the attack. Trump is even facing calls that he be forced out of office, either through another impeachment process or through the 25th Amendment, although neither effort seems likely to win much support among Louisiana's Republican lawmakers. Of them, only U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy supported the election results during the two votes taken Wednesday night and Thursday morning after police cleared out the mob. He said Thursday evening that he has received both encouragement and criticism from constituents for his stance. U.S. Representatives Steve Scalise of Jefferson, Mike Johnson of Benton, and Clay Higgins of Lafayette backed Trump in voting not to certify the electors from either Arizona or Pennsylvania. U.S. Senator John Kennedy voted to accept the electors from Pennsylvania, but not from Arizona. U.S. Representative Garrett Graves of Baton Rouge voted just the opposite, supporting the electors for Arizona, but not Pennsylvania. Louisiana doesn't yet have a congressman representing the sprawling 5th Congressional District, which includes Monroe, Alexandria, and Bogalusa. U.S. Representative Ralph Abraham retired, and his successor, Luke Letlow, died December 29th before being sworn in. A primary election has been set for March 20th to replace Letlow. Congress had convened Wednesday for what usually is a ceremonial event to accept the Electoral College votes certified by each state, and which showed Biden had won the November 3rd election. The count was abruptly stopped when a group of people waving Trump flags and egged on by the president rampaged through the U.S. Capitol. The vote, the last one in the protracted presidential election, was delayed by about 8 hours as law enforcement cleared the Capitol. There's a lot of images that we have and that law enforcement is gathering. Every single one of them needs to be held accountable, Scalise said in an interview, and comments echoed by his colleagues. If you let Antichrist change the way we're voting on an issue, there's a dangerous precedent as well. Anarchists. I'm sorry, not Antichrist, anarchists. Images have included the Trump supporters pushing aside barricades and Capitol Police to rush the Capitol. Once inside, one man was seen carrying an oversized Confederate flag, while another man was photographed in House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office, his feet on her desk. A third person sat in the chair Pence had vacated in the Senate and said Trump had the election stolen from him. Several people died among the tumult inside the Capitol. Trump has come under such strong criticism, and Democrats and some Republicans are calling for Pence and a majority of the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment and force the president from office during his final days in power. Trump could block that move, and then it would take a 2/3 vote of Congress to remove him. Clearly, there was a heck of a lot of disinformation put out there about the election, including that the election could be overturned at the Electoral College. It's just not constitutional, and the allegations of fraud were not true. They've been pretty well debunked, except they continued to circulate on social media. Whoever prompted that, knowing it was false to that degree, they helped create the climate. Cassidy told the Advocate in Times-Picayune. Practically speaking, obviously, Democrats want to impeach the president, but there isn't enough time to impeach, he added. Reaching 2/3 to invoke the 25th Amendment would require substantial Republican support because Democrats have only a bare majority in both the House and the Senate. Graves, in an interview with the Advocate in Times-Picayune, was not enthusiastic about going that route. The reality is we're less than 2 weeks away from the end of this presidency, he said. Could you go out there and do those drastic things? You could, but those things might be more damaging. What makes more sense at this point is that he effectively begins to withdraw and does not use that microphone at all, certainly not to the extent he used it in the past. Scalise had little interest in invoking the 25th Amendment or trying to impeach Trump, another idea that has surfaced. Right now, we need to focus on a peaceful transfer of power, and that's going to happen on January 20th, and we need to focus on reuniting the country, Scalise said. There's some very sharp divisions that still exist. That's where our focus needs to be. Yet another impeachment is not going to help bring people together right now. We're literally less than 2 weeks away from the peaceful transfer of power. We need to ensure that happens, and it will. The votes in the Capitol centered on an obscure constitutional provision that allow Congress to decide whether to certify the electoral result in a particular state, as long as at least one senator and one representative wanted to do that. The first objection came on Arizona. The two chambers separated and were beginning what appeared to be hours of debate when Capitol Police interrupted and evacuated members, became a violent mob, had stormed the building. Hours later, the House and Senate reconvened to vote on whether to accept the objection. At 3:08 a.m., when the U.S. took up the Pennsylvania objection, all 4 Republican members of Louisiana's delegation, Graves, Higgins, Johnson, and Scalise, agreed with the objection, and Richmond voted against. The objection failed on a vote of 282 to 138, with 11 representatives not voting. In a Facebook post on Thursday, Kennedy said his vote in Arizona's electors was to give voice to those concerned about election irregularities, although no court or election official has found evidence of irregularities. In a Facebook post, Grace explained why he voted for the Arizona electors and against the Pennsylvania ones. The Republican governor certified the state's election results, and there was no substantive objection by their legislature. Graves said both the Arizona House and Senate had Republican majorities. Our next story, beloved teacher avoids deportation. Longtime French instructor gets reprieve out of the blue from immigration officials by Katie Gagliano and Katie Reckdale, staff and contributing writers. On Thursday, French teacher Jabril Koulibaly, 50, walked quietly out of the Pine Prairie Correctional Center and into a SUV driven by his cousin, Bissy Comer. Koulibaly grasped his cousin and other friends in joy and relief after he was buzzed through a security gate to freedom. Though Koulibaly had no comment about his experience, Kumar said in his younger cousin's face he saw a man who was happy to be released, but still overwhelmed by sadness because of the turmoil he had been through. Though he had no words, his facial expressions were speaking for him, said Kumar, who also teaches friends with Koulibaly in Thibodeau. When Koulibaly was able to speak a few hours later, it became clear that the look of sorrow his cousin witnessed was partially health-related. On the way home, he tested positive for COVID-19, a result that didn't surprise him because 4 out of 43 men in his dorm had tested positive during his 3-week stay there. He lost 8 pounds during his detention, and so though his COVID symptoms were mild, he did not feel well. I'm getting weaker and weaker, he said, and I've lost my appetite. He also was extremely disappointed that he would not be able to hug his wife or his 3 children when he arrived home in Thibodeau. Instead, he had been on the phone with his wife to set aside one of their home's bedrooms as a quarantine-only area where he would spend the next few weeks alone. Though he had been longing to return to work, that was also impossible. Among the small group of people waiting outside the immigration detention facility was Boubacar Maiga, 62, a French teacher and Millennium immigrant in St. Landry Parish, who had faced similar visa struggles after administrative paperwork error by his employer. U.S. immigrant and customs enforcement officials had no explanation for the changed circumstances for Koulibaly. Last week, the soft-spoken elementary school teacher who has taught in Louisiana for 19 years was told by a Pine Prairie officer that he was facing immediate deportation to his native Mali in West Africa. And on Monday, his attorney, Loyola University law professor Rikio Kosada, believed deportation was imminent when she received an email telling her that an ICE administrator had refused Koulibaly's petition for a state deportation. Then on Wednesday afternoon, out of the blue, Kusada said she got a call telling her that her client would be released Thursday under an order of supervision, the immigration equivalent of probation, that came with an ankle monitor visible to those who witnessed Koulibaly's release. As of Thursday afternoon, a GoFundMe created to support the family had raised over $17,800, and a Change.org petition planned deportation had over 3,000 signatures. But those rough indicators didn't show the true level of interest in Koulibaly's case. From neighbors in Thibodeau who brought food, gift cards, hugs, and prayers to his wife and 3 children, from French cultural officials who helped to bring Coulibaly to Louisiana to teach nearly 20 years ago, and from hundreds of former Peace Corps volunteers who have been trained and taught French and other languages by Coulibaly. Nicholls State University professor Robin White, a former Peace Corps volunteer, wrote letters pleading for Coulibaly's release to ICE officials and to U.S. Representative Cedric Richmond, Democrat from New Orleans, who is resigning to move to the administration of President-elect Joe Biden. White also spread word of Coulibaly's detention to fellow professors, colleagues nationwide, and returned Peace Corps volunteers. White, who had served in Peace Corps in Mali 3 decades ago, met Coulibaly at Souquet Francophone, a French table in Thibodaux, and described him as a friendly, humble, and open man who has a quiet demeanor and a kind spirit. Coulibaly carried the spirit of Mali, said White, remembering how she adapted to the culture with the help of generous locals, the kindest, most hospitable people who had nothing. According to Coulibaly's legal filings, Coulibaly had taught French in Acadiana schools under a local legal work permit for 19 years, but in 2010, the St. Landry Parish School Board missed a deadline to renew Coulibaly's visa. Given the amount of time that Coulibaly's case had spent in immigration court, it's unclear what prompted the ICE task force to drive to Thibodaux last month to apprehend Coulibaly. In Coulibaly's case, though the error was recognized quickly, immigration officials view small errors like that as incurable mistakes, said Michelle McKenzie, Deputy Director for the Advocates for Human Rights, a Minneapolis-based organization that works to represent asylum seekers and people in detention across the nation. Okay, now moving on. Let's see how much time we have. I want to try to get the sports in, so I'll bypass this last story about jobless claims that nearly triple. But just go to theadvocate.com if you have access to the internet, or hopefully you can get a print copy of the paper and read the story entitled "New Jobless Claims Nearly Triple. State Cites Interest and Extra $300 Benefit." The article is written by Kristen Mossbrucker. But I'm going to go ahead, since we just have a few minutes left in our broadcast, I'm going to go ahead and read about the local sports news. Cajuns facing key series versus Little Rock by Kevin Foote, sports and staff writer for The Advocate. It's still early in the Sun Belt Conference season, but it's hard to deny the significance of this weekend's league series for the UL Raging Cajuns. Coming off a 1-1 home weekend against Texas State, now Coach Marlin's team will face preseason Sun Belt favorites Little Rock, loaded with size and talented, beginning at 6 p.m. Friday at the Cajun Dome. They're the number 1 overall in the league, Marlin said. They've got 2 big wins against UTA and Little Rock this past weekend. They shot a great percentage. They've got 4 foreign guys that play heavy minutes. It'll be an excellent game for us come Friday, and one we'll need to play well to win. Game 2 is scheduled for 4 p.m. Saturday between the Cajuns, who are 7-2 and 1-1 in conference play, and visiting Trojans 6-3, 2-0 in conference play. August, Texas State last week. UL faced a physical half-court style, but Little Rock has bigger players and more of them, says Marlin. They're more physical, he said. We're going to pound it inside, and that'll be a challenge for us as well, even though the game plan will be similar to what we did against Texas State. Marlin is largely referring to a 6'10 senior, Royat Moyoyong, 12.7 points and 9.4 rebounds, who was voted as the preseason Sun Belt Player of the Year, as well as a 6'7 sophomore, Nikolai Mark, 15 points and 6.8 rebounds, and 6'7 senior, Ben Coupet, 10.9 points and 3.7 rebounds per game. Coupet is coming off a big weekend during the Sun Belt Player of this week's honor, averaging 26.5 points and 6.5 rebounds in the 2 wins over UTA. He shot 77.3% from the field for 2 games, as well as 73.3% from three-point land and 80% at the line. One thing that should help UL's cause is the return of 6'9 forward Du Gaia, who missed last weekend with COVID-19 issues. Goya is averaging 10.4 points and 10.1 rebounds a game so far. It's also possible in this matchup, UL fans could see 6'11 junior Theo Cuba, 10.8 points, 10.8 points per game and 10.4 rebounds, and 6'10 freshman Isaiah Richards, 4.3 points and 3.4 rebounds on the floor at the same time. Possibly Marlon explained those guys could play together as well. It just depends on who's on the floor at the other team. If you're going to play those two guys together, you've got a player like Texas State Isaiah Small, for instance, the other night. One thing Marlon doesn't want to change is free throw shooting. The Cajuns made all 17 attempts in Saturday's loss, the first 100% shooting night with at least 15 attempts since going 16 for 16 against Florida Atlantic in 2011. And let's see. Well, we did have an LSU sports story, but we're kind of a few minutes past our regular time frame. We try to read the news between 9 a.m. and 9:55 a.m. or between 9 and 10 a.m. So I'll just kind of end it here, but I will finish the broadcast with a funeral that is happening. Service is happening tomorrow in Acadiana for Gwendolyn Stelly Arnaud at the Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Port Barre at 11 a.m. tomorrow, January 9th, 2021. So this has been Local News Live for January 8th, 2021. I've been your reader and host, Bruce Cohen. You can join us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on AOC 1, our streaming radio station, Cypress Street Radio, that's CYPRESS Street Radio, or the AOC Community Channel on YouTube. You can also read these stories and more at theadvocate.com and find out how you can volunteer and become a volunteer news reader like myself at aocinc.org. That's aocinc.org. You'll see the volunteer tab on the front page. Pull it down where you can see newspaper volunteer reader. Fill out the form, and Miss Mandy or Mr. Matt will be in touch with you. And we're all doing this broadcast from our home studios. At this point, we have not been able to get back into the AOC podcast booth. I miss it dearly, but we have been able to do the broadcast through our home systems, our studio systems, and our home base, which is great because I can do it in my pajamas. So this is Bruce Cohen, will always be Bruce Cohen. I ask you to be healthy. I ask you to be safe. And I ask you above all to be smart, folks. Please be smart about COVID-19. You know, I read the story about the vaccinations up and coming, and everybody will get vaccinated at some point, but this thing is really turning course. There are stronger variants out there. Just be careful when you're out in the public. Please wear your mask. Do everything that we've been talking about for the last 10, 11 months. Just be careful out there. Let's stop the spread, shall we? Let's do it together as a unit. Let's make Acadiana COVID-free if we can. And be kind to each other. That's what I always say at the end of my broadcast. Be kind to each other. Be nice to each other. Just treat each other fairly like you would want to be treated. So this has been Bruce Cohen. This is say good morning. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the flip-flop.